I'm interested. Since people keep telling me that the last couple of days I look like I should be at Coachella. Whether it be my attire or my energy. Let's see, shall we? But we're not missing. How's the audio? Crackle. It's okay. Get there. Previous stream crashed. It was time to reboot anyway. They told me to reboot at about midnight. And I pushed it till I wouldn't let them anymore. Always listen to the angels when they tell you. Thank you for helping me also. I'm not mad at their stream crash and reboot. It was time. It's past time. Admittedly. But will you please help me clear out the audio? Will you cleanse out the audio? Happily do some Reiki. Teamwork. Nonetheless.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So thinking about the housing situation, like are there cameras set up? Are they going to kick me out randomly for no reason? Do the pictures actually look like what the house looks like? But they do just make more sense for a big group of people, a quick getaway. Maybe you don't want to stay in a hotel. Maybe you want a pool. Maybe you want a garden. You know what I mean? So thinking about the housing situation at Coachella, right? In my mind, the brands that took influencers had them set up either like glamping, you know, like really nice camping, or in a nice hotel nearby. And then you had people who weren't influencers paying for hotels, glamping, regular camping. I imagine it's very festival-like. I've never been to a festival, is my idea of hell. But also there's those people that may appreciate their comforts, like me. I would never camp, I would want to stay in a hotel. But I can imagine finding accommodation was a nightmare. We briefly spoke about it in the Coachella video from earlier this week. The charges that people add on to accommodation because something big is happening in the area is crazy. So one of the people that had issues with their Airbnb is Drea. Let's have a little look at Drea's sitch.
Hey guys, happy Easter. It's been a crazy morning for me. I woke up to this email. Basically woke up to a message from my Airbnb host.
Let's have a look at that message. The email was basically saying, your reservation has been cancelled on Airbnb. So the message from the host that she says, sorry, Airbnb cancelling. And Andrea here said, Barbara, I contacted Airbnb and this reservation has not been cancelled. Was this message a mistake? The host responds, no, sorry, City of Palm Desert does not allow weekends. And Andrea says, I spoke to Airbnb and they said our reservation is fine and good to go. I'm not understanding. We reserved this back in September. Is there a way we can talk via phone? And Barbara says other Coachella reservations were cancelled too. Okay.
For Coachella weekend, that our spot is getting canceled. Like any normal person, I started to freak out. Called my friend Yessie, who I'm going to Coachella with, and I was like, girl.
Yeah, I called that out yesterday too. I think before you got on the stream, Damien. Yeah, he had as far as I heard, the highest paying Coachella gig in all of Coachella history. Like, no other artist has been paid more than him, and he sat there and went through old videos. I mean, like, to a degree, as a Gemini, I get the throwback. Like, look at how far I've come, but on the flip side, I mean, like, he ruined people's lives, too. And I think there's a time and a place. He was so not nice to Selena Gomez.
Got the host message, and basically she just sent a message like, so sorry, canceling it.
And all those people spent all that money and we're out in the hot, stinky desert smelling like cheese for memes with Bieber. Time and a place, man.
And I was like, oh,
getting food poisoning and not being able to shower.
You know, called Airbnb support, and I was like, I'm not sure what's going on, because on my end, I still see that it's active. Airbnb was on the same page. They were like, well, on our end, nothing is canceled, so I'm not sure what she means by that message. I remained very calm, but then I was really just like, you know, when you're so upset that you just like go mute? That was me, because I'm like, how is this Airbnb host literally canceling 5 days?
That is crazy. And you know, finding more accommodation is going to be a struggle.
Coachella Weekend 1 is the next Friday, like this coming Friday. And today's Sunday. So, like any normal person, I started to freak out. So, it started like around 9 a.m. Around 11:30, the host officially canceled our place. So we were like, okay, mind you, we booked this place back in September. So she had 7 months to let us know that it wasn't going to work out, or, you know, to communicate. And so then I sent her a message and I was like, this is just very disappointing. I'm literally in shock.
There should be rules about this on Airbnb, unless it's for, you know, life or death situation or a real emergency. You shouldn't be able to cancel on the people who's booked your... Surely this is a rule already. You shouldn't be able to cancel people who've booked your Airbnb, let's say a month in advance.
Like, what is going on? And she was like, I'm so sorry, Palm Desert, the city of Palm Desert sent out a letter saying that we're not able to book Airbnbs for that weekend. And then she tried to like make me feel better by saying like, don't worry, like other Coachella reservations were canceled too. Girl, I'm talking about our reservation.
Yeah, give a fuck about anyone else.
We're like looking for Airbnbs, and everything is between $5,000 to like $10,000. I'm not gonna pay that. You know, no Airbnb. Coachella's on Friday, and
a key thing which you just said there. Everything else is this extremely high price. Why? Because people are being cancelled on, and then all they have left is these options. So what else are they gonna do?
I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not gonna pay $5,000 to stay at somebody else's Airbnb. Like, that is insane. And then we're looking at all the hotels around. Hotels are like fully booked. So my question to you guys: has this happened to anyone else? Did you guys receive an Airbnb message from your host saying that Palm Desert, like the city of Palm Desert, is not letting them like host you? Because
I don't believe that.
How is this happening 5 days before the
absolutely not.
festival? Me and my friend are just trying to see Justin Bieber. Like, anybody have an extra room? Anybody have an extra house? Like, this is insane. I'm so disappointed. I've already like cried it out, so I have like no more tears left to cry. I'm just in shock. Airbnb should not like be able to allow their host for such a big event like this to like cancel 5 days before the.
You can even, I mean, big events like this, Airbnb should do this thing. I know it might be really difficult, where they, you know, are in big, huge events like this. Coachella in the US, Glastonbury here in the UK, big festivals like this, Airbnb hosts should maybe click this option like, oh, I'm hosting this week for this event in this area. And Airbnb like, hey, these are the rules. This is your limit for pricing because people take the piss. Like, yes, add a slight premium, but let's not be crazy. And you can't cancel on these people within this time. Otherwise, you get some kind of strike. I don't know.
Especially because I booked it September of 2025.
Yeah,
like,
that's
you
insane.
had all this time to communicate. I just have no words. And Airbnb, they did the best that they could, but you know what You know what they hit me with? Here's $100 to rebook.
$100? Where you stay in a shoebox? Listen, I mean, you can get a decent hotel room for that kind of thing, you know, like the chain ones. But in that area, in that period of time around that festival, I don't think so.
$100? Honey, are you looking at the value of Coachella Valley?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get anything with $100. I can't even get a full tank of gas for $100.
Surely you need a full refund, no?
Airbnb. I'm so disappointed at our host, Barbara. Coachella's on Friday. No Airbnb. We have everything else. I have no words. I have no words.
Perhaps, I mean, can you camp at Coachella? Because maybe it is just a UK thing. When you think festival, you think camping, you think dirt, you think mud. But I know Coachella is very much I'm gonna post this on my socials event, right? So I doubt you want to be looking shit in mud and dirt on your socials. Although that could be a good change of pace for your socials.
Hey guys, I wanted to come on here really quick and give a quick update on my whole Airbnb fiasco. It's been a long 24 hours, but I have some good news. My friend and I have found a new place and I am so grateful. I came into work today, told my coworkers, my boss, everything that happened. Shout out to my boss. She came through. She has a family friend that has a house in Palm Desert. And they will be letting us stay there for a really affordable price. So many of you guys shared your experience with Airbnb, and honestly, it is so disappointing that Airbnb is allowing to have hosts do this to people.
Yeah, they need to put some kind of rules in next year because it's crazy.
I've never had an experience like this with Airbnb, and I've used them for years. So it's just really unfortunate that it had to happen for my first Coachella. Bieberchella at that. It's so much money, so much time and energy to plan a trip like Coachella. So it was just really unfortunate that these hosts feel like it is okay to cancel on their current reservation and then relist it for like a more expensive price.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to us. I reported her to Airbnb.
Good.
Airbnb let me know that they can't tell me the result with like what happens with the host just for like privacy reasons.
That's annoying.
But they told me that they have zero tolerance for like price gouging and whatnot.
Good.
So there's that. Good luck, Barbara. You know, I do believe in karma.
Yeah, fuck you, Barbara.
I do believe that what you put out there comes right back to you. So I'm just really grateful that we found a place. Most importantly, I know a lot of people suggested for me to camp. Camping is just like not an option for me. I health related reasons.
I get it. I think it'll be a good like last resort, right? You can buy tents with separate rooms now, you know. It doesn't just have to be that one little, you know, you can turn left to the bathroom, turn right to your room.
It's too much. And if camping is your thing, good for you. Like
good for you.
It's not my thing and I know I'll have a miserable time. So I'm just not gonna do that. So thank you for the suggestions. But yeah, just that update, I found a place and I'm really excited for Coachella. I'm so excited to see Justin Bieber and all the other artists. But Justin is the reason I'm going to Coachella and I'm a believer at heart. And so thank you to everyone that sent a message offering your place. Sucks that so many of us have gone to this, and I hope Airbnb is held accountable and that they can improve this for future festivals. And all right, bye guys. See you guys at Coachella.
Yeah, they definitely need to make some kind of rule, some kind of placement, some kind of like maybe application list for the people who want to put up their place to host for this, and be like, here's the rules. Sign this separate agreement. Done. Because people were doing exactly that. Somebody even commented on Drea's video here. They do this and repost at a higher rate, file complaint with Airbnb, leave a bad review. And Andrea said, I just did because we see that she relisted for a higher price. I'm so upset. So you know all the influencers were being cancelled on as well. I came across this video from Manny anyway, who is a beauty content creator, who I think goes to Coachella like every single year, and he said this.
So I have some Coachella tea to spill. As you might already know this, but I found this out throughout this weekend. I'm doing boots on the ground investigative journalism here at Coachella. Okay.
I don't really
So you know
like
how the
him
brands have canceled on creators to come to Coachella just days before actual festival itself? Okay, I've been finding out reasons why. The biggest reason, you guys, is actually Airbnbs and houses have been canceling last minute on people out here in Coachella days before to resell their home for 4 times the price. Let's say a brand pays $10K for a house for the weekend. They canceled it, and now the Airbnb is charging $50K for it. heard so many things this weekend about the cancellations that I was like, oh my God, this is why the brands have to cancel their whole Coachella. And the creators get fucked because the brands no longer have a place to house them in because it's Bieberchella, everything is sold out. It's completely booked up, so they have no choice but to cancel days before. It's fucked up regardless, but it's like, what are the brands to do? You know what I mean? You guys might have already figured this out throughout the weekend, but I found that very fascinating that this is why a lot of the brands have been canceling on creators. It's fucked up, but it's really the Airbnb people. It's an unfortunate situation.
But Andrea wasn't the only person to have this happen to her. This is a thing that is happening a lot.
I'm literally shaking right now and trying not to cry because I was just hoping it wouldn't be me and this wouldn't happen to me, but of course it did. I booked my Airbnb for Coachella a while back and they just canceled on me 2 days before I'm supposed to get there.
And 2 days is crazy. You're packed. Your trip is booked. Your flight is maybe booked.
Scammy. Then
This is by far the scammiest Coachella has gone on in like years.
We bought it from the Coachella website. He says you can still get scammed if you buy it from the Coachella website.
Yeah, I got scammed. The wristband doesn't work.
I have spent so much money coming here. I tried to keep my ID because they were trying to confiscate the van back.
Give me my ID back. Hang on. Hi, tell everyone I say hi.
I stuck outside of Coachella. This isn't just me. There's like at least 20 people that had the same exact issues.
Coachella 2026 is here, but you know what? I'm not going to call it Coachella this year. I'm going to call it Scamchella because what is going on this year?
Just kidding.
hold on. There's another one that I saw pop up.
Pooped in.
All right.
No, the water. Instead of tap water, you get Dasani water now. Dasani? Hell no, downgrade me right now. And where's the toilet? I thought this came with a toilet. It'll find you. Coachella, a music festival that happens every single year in California, or to be more precise, in Indo, California, which is in the desert. And I don't know why people will go to a festival that happens in the desert. Couldn't be me. Y'all have fun though. But guess what? They didn't have fun. This year to go to Coachella, the line actually started at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Could have been way earlier. Could have been at 12, maybe 11 p.m. from the previous day, even though they wouldn't start accepting people inside until 8:30, I believe. People were waiting in line from 2 p.m. So what would these people actually do when they were waiting in line for over 8 hours? Like, where would they go to the bathroom? What would they eat? Well, actually, they just poop right there near a bush. I'm not even kidding. Because unless you bought a preferred parking, which would cost basically your rent, where it depends where you live actually, and this is how much one of these influencers paid for preferred parking.
It's time to play our favorite guessing game of the year.
So they smell like cheese, and they use the shrubbery as a toilet. Got it.
Did Isabel Wallace spend on this car camping pass for
What?
Coachella?
You
So
wanted me to
right
go?
now, like, this little thing is usually $375 for a pass. I had to do a payment plan for this shit. I bought it off StubHub. It is the most expensive.
A payment plan for a parking.
I literally can't even look you in the eyes. Guess how much this shit was? $1,028. Oh my!
But I do it for you guys.
This year's going to be epic though. Mark my words.
Over $1,000 just to park. And I love how she says, this year's actually going to be epic because I'm going. And when I go, things are going to be epic. And guess what happened? Things weren't actually epic. This is probably the worst year from what I've seen. So for $1,000, baby girl, you better get a refund. Which you can't, so you're screwed.
I'd literally do anything for you guys to have the best Coachella experience. Love you guys.
Did she just blame her expense on us? Did she just say, I'm gonna do the best thing. I'm gonna spend as much money as I possibly can. I'm gonna go broke just for you guys to enjoy the vlogging experience that I'll do, not for myself, but for you. This is all on you, and I feel like you should all donate some money to me. But yeah, I'm doing this for you guys. I do this for charity. Girl, don't lay this shit on us. Like, what? For us, there's at least 1 million influencers vlogging this. What makes you think that we're all gonna be like watching your video like, You're delusional? So $1,000 for preferred parking and about $1,000 more for you to get in there for, I think it's for 3 days, like a general pass. And I think they give you a tiny tent. And what I mean by a tiny tent, this is what I'm talking about.
This package was sold to me as everything I'd need to camp.
Everything.
A tent, sleeping bags, air mattress, and a light. But trust me when I tell you I needed so much more. The temperatures reached 105 degrees, and at 7:30 we were all forced outside of our tent to try to find shade that we could continue to sleep in. The interior of the tent reached about 200 degrees and all of our toiletries melted, including the lids and plastic bottles. On a good note, the porta potties were located right at our campsite. Unfortunately, they were right beside the tent and often didn't smell so great.
What if someone brought their girlfriend to Coachella as a romantic date night? You know what?
Oh, here's another thing. I saw somebody posted a video, somebody who was camping at Coachella. And they had all these orange tents set up. I think it was like, I don't know if they were Coachella renting tents. I don't know. But there were these like rows of matching orange tents. Honestly, it kind of looked like a concentration camp. Has anybody ever seen a high school football or track field lit up at night with those big square spotlights beamed down at the ground? If you know what I'm talking about, you know. Well, they had those. I assume probably so that people could find their tents and maneuver around in the dark. But those were on all night. So there was, in the desert, the sun all day, and then they had those beaming through these orange tents, which just picked up and illuminated the brightness even more. Cast everything in orange, like midday, right, in a desert. And let me tell you, That sounds like the inside of a jail cell to me.
I got us tickets to Coachella. It's gonna be so fun and romantic. And then the night comes and they're in these tents. And while they're trying to kiss, like trying to have a romantic moment, there's a dude right next to them in those porta potties having explosive diarrhea.
You could earn every second of her perfect.
Ew! Chew and swallow before I choke.
Indeed, for someone to have diarrhea, I might as
Stop
well
that!
sleep at Taco
I
Bell
skipped ahead and he went back to the
bathroom for free.
And then there were the service vehicles that drove day and night, creating so much dust.
So much fun.
At nighttime, if the vehicles didn't keep you awake, the generators did.
Yeah.
For these lights, the lights that they kept on all throughout the night. You could never tell if it was day or nighttime in your...
It looks like a nightmare. Concentration camp in jail cell. No. Vacation who? Where? Yeah, try to sleep in that.
And everything was lit up bright orange.
Look, it's nighttime. Look at that's the night. Jail cell.
So
The
much
total
fun.
package cost me about 1,000 Canadian dollars, and as a first-time camper, it definitely was not a very favorable experience.
Really? And keep in mind, this is supposed to be a fun experience. People are doing this for fun. I feel like if I'm gonna have to go through all this shit, they'd have to pay me to go to Coachella. Someone said it's giving FEMA camp, and I can totally see it. Prisoners of war camp vibes. So I feel like we have a lot more cons than pros, and the biggest ones, the biggest problems being the heat,
I didn't
the
eat all day,
dust,
fatware.
no place to sleep, all the
Fasting all day,
noise,
fatware.
and the generators. Now, I couldn't believe this at first, but everyone was actually getting sick there because of the dust, because this is happening in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's a full-on desert that these people are going to, and no one's thinking of to bring masks or something, and people were just basically getting sick. And when someone posted a video of the aftermath, I'm like, why would you do this to yourself?
All right, you guys. At night, when I go to bed, this is how I set up my space. And I'm gonna close this.
The coughing.
Anyway.
The way he's so disturbed by the coughing.
I'm going to close.
If it's not for the loud music, the generators, the lights keeping you up, it's gonna be that damn cough. Bro is sleeping next to patient zero. Why are you in World War I?
Oh yeah.
Are you guys
And people kept getting sick from all the dust.
fun yet? Like, are you enjoying the Coachella experience? Because so far the videos that I've seen, it seems really nice. Yeah. Besides the people living in concentration camps right there. Listen, I don't want to be that guy, but influencers would have stopped at least 3 mental breakdowns if they were using today's sponsor, Rocket Money, to avoid this financial disaster in the first place. You all know I'm going to save my money where I can and where I cannot. Remember when I did that video with Panera trying their lemonade? I signed up for their trial to get it for free, which I did. Then 2 months later, they charged me, and I'm like, how dare you charge me for something that I signed up for and I forgot about? So thankfully, with Rocket Money, which is a financial app that helps you cancel subscriptions, once in a while, I go to a person or two where about people smelling, and it wasn't just like, oh, a person or two. I believe that a lot of people that go to Coachella smell. Imagine going there to party and you're over here like, like you're holding your breath because people didn't shower. As a non-influencer with an artist pass at Coachella, you should know some of your favorite influencers smell so bad. And the entire comment section is actually filled with people saying that, oh, actually this influencer smelled, oh, this influencer smelled. I'm not going to say the exact names of the influencers, but the rumors might actually be true because of the shower situation. Now, when it's 200 fucking degrees Fahrenheit out there and everyone's sweating, there needs to be accessible showers, but guess what they didn't have?
All right. So guess what we didn't miss by skipping Coachella? Guess what we skipped out on? How's the audio? Let me know. Good. Karmic is mad. Fucking hate her. Oh. Right in your stomach. I felt that. I was hearing this earlier.
Living in my own world, didn't understand that anything can happen when you take a chance. I never believed in what I couldn't see. I never opened my heart to all the possibilities. Ooh, I know that something has changed. Never felt this way, and I'm here tonight. This could be the start of something new. It feels so right to be here with you. And now I'm looking in your eyes. I feel in my heart the start of something new. Never have given you a second look, but I like the way you don't give a damn. You seem like someone I could pick a fight with and dance all night with. Maybe you like me the way I am. You know you got bad tattoos and smell like booze. I'm into you. You know you got an attitude. Baby, I'm in love. seem like someone I could be myself with, no defenses. Maybe you like me the way I am. Even though you talk way too fast, I can't stop looking at your eyes. Heads down every time you laugh. Baby, I'm in love. I'll say a little too much, I'm a little bit drunk. Feels like I know you so well. You got the everything that I've been missing. I'm coming out of my shell. I never do that. How did you do that? It's like I'm knowing you my whole life. So what? We're a little drunk. Let's go out together. Let's go out together. I'm a little drunk, need a little love. Could be everything that I've been missing. You could be everything to me. I'm a little drunk, need a little love. Could be everything that I've been missing. Baby, I'm in love. I said a little too much, I'm a little bit drunk. Feels like I know you so well. You could be everything that I've been missing. I'm coming out of my shell. I never do that. How did you do that? It's like I'm knowing you my whole life. So what? We're a little drunk. Let's go home together. Let's go home together. Let's go home together. And never give you a second look. But I like the way you don't give a damn.
Okay, that's my turn.
By the end of the summer, she was a lover. I saw her ex and he's dressing like me. Hair kinda messy like me. Nobody gets it like me. We made it to dinner, take it at dinner. Standing on seats cause they're playing our song. The waiters always taking too long. Maybe we're just staying too long. Ooh, I found that place back home, man. I found an angel wearing plaid. You made it soon. Ooh, I've never felt like this before. Can't pick myself up off the floor. That's something new. I'm stuck with you forever, forever, feels like I'm faded. She's getting naked. We went to a party and we're hiding upstairs. Your lady's telling you it ain't fair. Picked up your phone, started tying your hair. She moved like Madonna, do what she wanted. I put her on her back and I tell her she's mine. Wrote her name all over my spine. She don't pay rent, but she stay in my mind. Ooh, I put the boys back home, man. I found an angel wearing plaid. You'll meet her soon. Ooh, I've never felt like this before. Can't pick myself up off the floor. That's something new. I'm stuck with you forever.
a good thing, though.
Thank you. How's everybody?
Well, I just heard the news today. It seems my life is gonna change. I close my eyes, begin to pray. Then tears of joy stream down my face with arms wide open. Under the sunlight, welcome to this place. I'll show you everything with arms wide open. With arms wide open. Well, I don't know if I'm ready to be the man I have to be. I'll take a breath, I'll take her by my side. We're standing on, we create under the sunlight. Welcome to this place.
Come on, I'm telling you that I'm him, but it goes in one ear out the other. Your accident number on you made it harder, you made it tougher. You telling me gifts and trips doesn't prove that I'm the man he wasn't. Well, in case you change your mind, it's about you a flight in a Fendi bucket. Things that he didn't do, I'ma do for you. That's what I call an upgrade. Quality time's important. I'm turning my phone on Saturday, Sunday. During the week, I'm getting bread. I know he fucked you up in the head. I got first class seats to Greece. You can go to sleep, they turn in their bed. Wake up in Santorini, whatever you wish, let me be your genie. You look good in a black bikini, white boy eyeball Scalabrini. No how you can't be sure to trust me or not. It takes some courage. Your ex made you insecure, so I'm giving you constant reassurance. Come on, I'm telling you that I'm him, but it goes in one ear out the other. Your accident number on you made it harder, you made it tougher. You telling me gifts and trips doesn't prove that I'm the man he wasn't. Well, in case you change your mind, it's about you a flight in a Fendi bucket. You never got credit for anything, he never noticed the things that you do. I see that you put on some muscle, I'm proud of you, looks like you went to your boots. I see that you got your own money, you got your own place, and for that I salute. I see that you really do care about people, it's time that you care about you. Feeling like I'm talking to a brick wall, I know it's not your fault, it's his fault. I can't get pissed off when you have a poker face, gotta let the chips fall. I'm not folding, baby, I still got cars, I'm holding, baby. Shopping sprees, and I'm out concrete, and I got my arms wide open, baby. Come on, I'm telling you that I'm him, but it goes in one ear out the other. Your accident number on you made it harder, you made it tougher. You telling me gifts and trips doesn't prove that I'm the man he wasn't. Well, in case you change your mind, it's about you a flight in a Fendi bucket.
Paid for and approved. Okay.
That thong song comment got me. Thong, 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 thong. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't do that.
Applauded for Senate.
Hey, I thought we switched you, ma'am. Right. I thought it was pretty funny, Damien. Yeah. For You by Skeller. Hey Rusty, the next time you get a dream, I'm getting a message for you. You'll know what I'm talking about. Something that's like an idea or an answer. Something that you feel like it's pushing you, like a spirit guide or something pushing you. Listen to that one. It's like your dad. I'm trying to help you, I hear. I'm trying to help you, but you can hear me better in your sleep. It's because the stoicism is turned off. You're sleeping more. You got it. No, that's for Rusty. Oh yeah, you said you're an atheist? Yeah, when you're awake. So there's even that like spirituality you said, but yeah. Does that make sense? That your sleep would be communication pad, basically. Launch pad for that. Anyway, you got it. Next time you get a dream that's meaningful or you have that nudge, you listen to that. That's your spirit team. I feel like that's your dad. Also, do you have a grandma you were close with? I don't know if it's his grandma or your grandma. I just picked up a grandma. There's a grandma, too. Oh, she's very fond of you. Like, it's like wanting to like pinch your cheeks kind of an energy. Not aggressively or to hurt, but just like cute little cheeks. That grandma. Aw. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, she's with you too. She loves you a lot. It was like she was showing me like she's been there since you were little, which makes sense. Yeah. Little cheeks. She take care of you sometimes when you were little? Like you have sleepovers or something, you stay at her house sometimes? Yeah, she really cared about you. She spoiled you sometimes. Good. Anyway, she's there. Oh, she says, I'm always with you. She's showing me kissing you on the forehead too. My grandma does that when I'm yeah. Sorry, little jump scare. She said something about a bunny. Tell him I love him and something about a bunny. It almost looked like a stuffed animal. I don't know. She's showing me like, what is that? Something about a bunny. Maybe, well, it's just Easter. I don't know what that is, but. Condolences. Peter Rabbit or something. Bunny. It's like a children's bunny I see. Or the Velveteen Rabbit. I liked the Velveteen Rabbit growing up. In fact, I think I have that book still. But I think it's time for yoga. I hope that helps, Rusty. I know, I'm sure there's more, but. Yeah. quiet, Danny.
Hey America, want to save $1,000?
No, hush, be quiet. I'm gonna upgrade that account. They got real quiet, those French losers. I find it's especially the French. I don't know why. They're very petty and catty, and they think that it's real funny to come poke. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm American. I don't know. What is that? Why do they do that? It's very, very commonly French people that try to come and talk shit. Arrogant. Yeah, it's really weird. And sometimes one French person will come here and try to insult me in French as if I won't catch it. But then I notice that I think more frequently than any other language, if there are multiple people who speak French fluently, they'll sit there and talk shit together. Or if there are multiple people, like I had somebody who actually was very consistently on my squad, right? But then there was somebody who was, and this is somebody who spoke multiple languages, but he was also French. But there was this other French guy who spoke less English. And he would talk mad shit in French and try to get the other one who actually had my back to talk shit with him. It was so weird. In French, though. In my chat. Like right under your nose. Very weird. Like out of pocket, too. Snobby and inappropriate. Ugh. You know what the funny, kind of ironic thing about that is? All of the schools around here, except for 2 of them, mine included, learned Spanish, but mine and then one other one learned French. Now, it was many years ago, and I have not had anybody to practice it regularly with, but I do remember it, and I did start taking it since I was in 2nd grade. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forget the Petit Poisson song. Petit poisson, nage, 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 grosse baleine. Cheers. There's no racism. Like I just said, the other French person was lovely. They weren't going back and forth. They weren't doing that. But they also weren't from France originally. They were from England originally, so they had some more manners, I'd say. I digress. It's not racist, it's an observation. as there have been 2 French people sitting there trying to talk shit right in the comment section. Did you not see that? What do you mean? How's that racist? It's just an observation. You're just proving my point. Sure, there are plenty of polite French people, but there are also a bunch of assholes too. No different than any other country, I'm sure. Some more than others. Look, now that they know I can speak French, they're trying to compliment me. Aww. I'm not your dear. You just called me, you tried to call me a zombie. Now you're calling me my dear? Ma belle. No, no, no. Sacre bleu. Cheers. Oh no. Now she's asking what I'm smoking. What are you smoking, my dear? But before, she was going back and forth calling me a zombie with another dude in French. Talking shit about the smoking. Well, there's no way there's that zombie girl. She's so weird. Well, she must be smoking something. Zombie. There's no way she's moving like that. They're petty little French because they thought I wouldn't see what they were saying. Or respond. Ooh la la! That's hilarious. That was funny. Yeah, high five, man. Oh god, that was hilarious, guys. Here, you asked for this, Rusty, and I'm in the mood for something.
Having the right game plan.
Right. The right game. I should have saw that. Oh shit. That's hilarious. I gotta get that screenshots. Hold on. It's funny as fuck. That's hilarious.
Breeze from a distance is calling your name. Unfurl your black wings and wave. Across the horizon is coming to sweep you away. He's coming to sweep you away.
I do like this, Rusty. Hi, babies. Why does it sound like Jack Black? Doesn't it sound a little bit? Peaches. I have a song. Yeah. Actually, Jack Black's pretty low-key badass. I'm called Kickapoo. Made to fucking rock. Happy 420. Like a wizard. That's cute. You are a four-legged wizard. Are you? It's my babe. It's the babe. I do have actually. A true crime. I wanted to check out. It was calling at me. One more.
Didn't know that I'd fall so hard. Then my feet left the ground. Gravity don't make no sense when you're around. I come up against myself when demons in my head get loud. I don't know how you do it, but you turn them down. I snap about the who I'd be if I never found you and you never found me. Well, I don't wanna see. So won't you give me tonight and the rest of your life? I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. And when you open your eyes, I'll be there by your side. I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. 'Cause your love is biblical. It's biblical. It's biblical. If you ever go to pieces, fall between the thunder clouds, I will put you back together. I won't let you down. I slip under what I do. If you never found me and I never found you, I don't know what I'd do. So won't you give me tonight and the rest of your life? I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. When you open your eyes, I'll be there by your side. I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all. I wanna have it all. I wanna have it all. I wanna have it. I wanna have it all. 'Cause your love is biblical. It's biblical. It's biblical. So won't you give me tonight and the rest of your life? I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. So come on and give me tonight and the rest of your life. I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. And when you open your eyes, I'll be there by your side. I wanna have it all with you. I wanna have it all with you. 'Cause your love is biblical. It's biblical. It's biblical.
Hey, baby. You want my attention?
When the sun had left and the winter came and the sky thought to only bring the rain, I sat in darkness, all broken hearted.
This is Amy Betro. Once bored in the suburbs of Wisconsin, she somehow decided that her next career move would be international assassin. But with zero training, no common sense, and internet comments about her like this, let's just say that things
Hitwoman from Temu.
not exactly go to plan. Instead of a glamorous life of crime, Amy racked up one disaster after another, trading away her freedom for absolutely nothing. And so today, we're diving into a story that is so bizarre, it feels like satire. That being the tale of a wannabe hitwoman, Amy Betro, and how her fall from grace really wasn't a fall at all. In fact, it was more like a clumsy faceplant into the mud. Welcome back to Coffee House Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today I have a wild story for you. I have to say, I am genuinely excited to share this story, and so on that note, let's skip all the formalities. Please. Welcome to Birmingham, England, folks. Now, having lived here myself, I can tell you a thing or two about the place, and well, let's just say it isn't exactly the top of my favourites list. Sure, it's a busy city in the heart of the Midlands, known for its industrial heritage, diversity, and busy streets. But beyond the shopping centres and the old canals, Birmingham has a side that's, well, grotty, tired, and, if I'm being honest, a little dull. But still, it was here in the late 2010s that a quiet tension began to build between two families. And by the way, you'll have to bear with me here, as there is a little bit of family lore going on before we can get to the main bulk of the story. Now, on one side of this divide was Mohammed Aslam and his son, Mohammed Nabil Nazir. The two of them lived over with the rest of their family in Derbyshire, but they would routinely come to Birmingham for its deep Pakistani-British community. Moving forward, we're going to refer to the two of them as Aslam and Nazir. But Aslam, who was almost 60 years old at the time, was a well-respected elder within his family, known as a hard-working and proud man who immigrated to England decades earlier. He had built a life here, raised his children, and by the year 2018, had probably figured that his stormy years were now likely behind him. Meanwhile, his son Nazir, who was around 30, was a man caught between two worlds. One rooted in his parents' traditions, and the other in modern Britain. He was tech-savvy, confident, multicultural, and loyal to his family. Speaking of that, Nazir really did look up to his father, and that admiration was mutual. They would often travel together into Birmingham, not only for social but business events too. And up until this point in time, life of the family was, well, pretty ordinary. As far as we can tell, they had never gotten in trouble with the police before. It's not like they were hardened criminals or anything like that. Just, quite literally, a normal family. However, it was during one of their trips to a nearby clothing shop in Birmingham that their paths would take an unexpected turn forever, as this trip would light the fuse on a rivalry that would spiral into violence, deception, and ultimately drag in one of the most unlikely accomplices imaginable from half a world away. It was on a hot summer's day in July of 2018 when Aslam and Nazir walked into a boutique clothing store which was owned by a local man named Aslat Muhammad. Now, Aslat was another family man who, of course, owned the store, and whether by coincidence or fate, was just about to become their next arch-nemesis. Now, at the time, Aslam and Nazir were looking for a wedding dress for one of their family members, and when they found the dress they wanted in Muhammad's store, they were hoping that he would maybe renegotiate the price. The thing is, not only did Muhammad think the price was fair, but he was also not willing to go any lower, and so his answer was basically absolutely not. And let's just say that that blunt response was, well, not taken very politely. I don't need to tell you this, but sometimes haggling can come across as quite rude, and what followed was an argument that very quickly got out of hand. Harsh words were exchanged, and before you knew it, things got physical. And before anyone could calm down, the argument turned less buy one get one free and more 2-for-1 punches. Clothes were knocked off of their racks, onlookers were absolutely shocked at what was going on, and blood was even drawn. And, well, let's just say that it was quite obvious who won the fight here, because both Aslam and Nazir were badly injured and bruised afterwards. However, it was Nazir's father, Aslam, who unfortunately experienced the brunt of it. In fact, his head injury was so bad that it would forever affect his cognitive thinking. His injury changed his life overnight, and it's a stern reminder that health is quite literally everything, and you really can't gamble with it. Which got me thinking about how important it is to find the right doctor for yourself. Because the truth is that while one doctor might be great for me, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the right fit for you. I think it was around 2 years ago, but back in London, I remember meeting this doctor, and honestly, he changed the entire experience for me. He actually spoke to me like I was his friend, like he had my back. and he had this weird, dry sense of humor which made the entire thing so much funnier. For the first time ever, it felt like a doctor was actually listening to me. And you know the crazy thing about all of it? Network.
All right.
Didn't stop at the story either. As the news spread among proud relatives and friends, the windows of Aslam and Nazir's family home were shattered, and although it's unclear who was responsible, it looked like associates of Muhammad had retaliated after his shop had taken a beating. What had begun as a disagreement over a wedding dress had now become a red-hot rivalry fueled by pride and pain. And it was clear from the outset that neither family were willing to back down. Locals gossiped in the aftermath, and there was talk about how Aslam, who was once sharp-minded, was now struggling with both memory and concentration. Every day after that, Nazir watched his father suffer, and the injustice of it all seemed to weigh heavily on him. And although he would go on to make some very stupid decisions, you can see why he was angry, to say the least. But on the other side of the fence, Aslad's family felt that they had simply defended themselves and, of course, the business. It's clear that neither family were willing to accept their own share of the blame. And now, all that was left was bitter resentment, and of course the refusal to let go and move on. Fast forward to July of 2019, and an entire year had passed. But despite this, Aslam and Nazir were still furious. In fact, the two still desperately wanted payback. So, what could possibly satisfy their outrage? Well, in their minds, apologies were out of the question. Not only had too much blood been drawn, but it had been more than a year now. They wanted to do something a little more serious. And as for suing or pressing charges, well, that didn't seem to get them any resolution either. So, it was in that moment that they decided to take matters into their own hands. You probably know where I'm going with this already, but they decided that they wanted revenge in the darkest way possible. Muhammad had to die, or at the very least, one of his family members. Now, I think it's kind of obvious to say this, but revenge is never the way to solve anything, especially when it involves someone's life. Not only is it unjust, but Aslam and Nazir would also risk their own lives in prison. However, put quite simply, they really didn't care. It seems that both violence and thuggery were the absolute limit of their abilities, which, to be fair, had taken a hit in the recent years. And so, of course, the next challenge was trying to find a way of striking without getting caught. And, well, let's just say that that was found in a very unusual way. It was around this time that Nazir did what many would do when they're bored, lonely, or simply plotting revenge. And that's opening up a dating app. And through the countless selfies and filtered smiles, he found a woman named Amy Betro. Now, at the time, Amy was 40 years old, and she lived in a place called West Allis in Wisconsin. A place that is better known for its cheese curds over its contract killers. Formerly a pet sitter, a graphic designer, and a volunteer for the council, she wanted to move on to new things. You can also see through her LinkedIn that she loves music, graphic design, and wanted to move away from Wisconsin. By every definition, she was completely ordinary. In fact, the police would later call her unexceptional, which really is just a polite way of saying that she wasn't interesting, clever, or even remotely suited to international crime. She had no criminal record, no money, no training, no fitness regime, absolutely nothing. However, Nazir saw potential in her, and so, through many late nights and countless text messages and video calls, he gave her all of the affection and charm she could handle. And Amy, who was both smitten and completely flattered, fell for all of it. In hindsight, she probably was desperate for something exciting, and I'm really not sure what she saw in him either. But it worked. To her, this young British man was out of the ordinary, and a world far, far away from Milwaukee. And so, soon enough, and a matter of only weeks later, she was on a plane to the UK. For the next month and a half, Amy played tourist while holding his hand through the many streets of Derby, London, and more. To her, this clearly was romance. But to him, well, it was recruitment. Surprise, surprise, but it turns out that Nazir actually had an agenda. And over dinners and pillow talk, he created an emotional story of family honor and how his beloved father was almost beaten to death by the world's most violent salesman. He painted Aslat as a villain, and described himself as a respectful son who was merely seeking justice against a man who had left his father disabled. And bless her, but Amy, she actually believed it. What initially started as sympathy would soon become something far darker, and this is where Nazir's plan would finally come into motion. At some point along their relationship, Nazir asked Amy a question that no partner should ever ask. And of course, I'm talking about asking her to help him find revenge. So, going from online girlfriend to international assassin was far beyond Amy's intentions or even skill set. But to Nazir, her outsider status was perfect. Now, Nazir believed that since Amy had no history with Birmingham or Muhammad and was rarely in the country, she could quite literally appear, pull the trigger, and then disappear back to America. Which, yeah, was clean and simple in theory, and with Amy severely lacking any common sense and also being blinded by infatuation, she didn't see any issue or problem with it either. And so, with that in mind, Amy was all in. And let's just say that love can make you very, very stupid. But I think in Amy's case, she was kind of half there already. And so, with that said, the plan was now finally set. Aslam and Nazir would fly Amy back to Britain, and she would then carry out the hit on Aslat or his family. It is worth noting here that she was authorized to take out any one of his close relatives instead. The idea was cold, calculated, and extremely petty. To be honest, that's perfectly suited for our two cronies here, who had essentially outsourced their family grudge to a lovesick American. Now, the idea of a mild-mannered Midwestern woman now transforming into a globe-trotting assassin definitely does sound like the plot to a bargain bin action movie. Yet, somehow, Amy was convinced that she was up for the task. I think if you were to find her advertisement online, her motto would probably be, no training, no experience, and no clue. But plenty of misplaced confidence. Oh yeah, and she also seemed to think that throwing on the niqab would somehow make her invisible, or that pulling a trigger was just as easy as playing Call of Duty. It's the kind of logic that only a very gullible mind would believe. Red flags in the story were absolutely everywhere, and common sense should have been screaming at her to run. However, instead, she decided to double down. And what followed was the most amateur professional hit you will ever come across. In August of 2019, Amy officially began her journey from Wisconsin to England. Back at home, she told her friends and family that she was taking a trip to celebrate her upcoming 40th birthday, and alongside her partner, she may attend a party in England. On August the 22nd, and for the next 2 weeks, she travelled around the country like a tourist, while secretly preparing for murder. She would even post many photos of herself on social media, usually in front of British landmarks like the London Eye. But underneath that facade, she was actually coordinating with both Nazir and Aslam, gathering all of the tools and information she required to get the job done. It was during that time that she purchased 2 burner phones with cash, before then giving one to Nazir and Aslam and keeping the other for herself. Meanwhile, they spared no effort in setting up their plan for her, including illegally acquiring a semi-automatic pistol off of the black market. And then, on September the 4th, only a few days before the planned attack, Amy and Nazir met up near the city of Derby. In a secluded area of wasteland near the A38 highway, they then tested the gun. A short video found on Nazir's phone showed them firing the gun into the ground, of course, making sure that it actually worked. Ironically, the footage showed the weapon jamming during this test. It was kind of like a warning sign that this gun was actually unreliable, but careless as always, they both brushed it off. On September the 6th, Amy then contacted Muhammad under the pretense of wanting to buy his car, which is something that he actually found quite strange, because he never included his number on the listing. In hindsight, he really should have asked how she found his number, but as you can tell, he never did. And during the time that the two were messaging each other, she then booked herself into the Rotunda Hotel, which can be found in Birmingham's city centre. As the day of the attack grew closer, Amy arranged a getaway vehicle, going to a local car dealer and purchasing an old Mercedes E240. And get this, but to avoid connecting the car to her real identity, Amy used a fake name, Becky Booth, which sounds almost comical, kind of like a name from a bad spy movie. To make matters even worse, she showed up to buy the car in a summer dress, a hoodie, and flip-flops, which is basically the weirdest and most memorable combination you can think of. Anyway, Becky Booth's big beautiful blunder was now finally ready to go. She had her weapon, an escape plan, and even a fake identity to go with it. Everything was falling into place here. At least in her mind, anyway. However, as you're just about to find out, things didn't just go wrong for Amy, it went nuclear. September the 7th, 2019. It was a Saturday evening in the quiet suburb of Yardley, and Becky and co had decided to target either Mahumad or his son, Sikander. Aslam and Nazir did not leave it all to chance, instead making the decision to physically come to Birmingham to assist in Amy's operation, and in their red Volvo acted as lookouts as they drove behind her Mercedes. By the way, I am pretty sure this basically defeats the entire purpose of an unrelated assassin. Now wearing a black niqab, Amy's identity was very well hidden, and for the next 45 minutes, she sat parked on Mahumad's street. So, here is where one other crucial blunder was made. At 8:10 p.m, Sikander Ali finally arrived home, with his black SUV pulling into the cul-de-sac. It is true that Amy did have permission to take him out, but she actually believed that Sikander was Mahumad. And so, this was it. It was finally time for Becky Booth to shine. Unaware of any danger outside, he parked his car in front of the family home before then stepping out of his vehicle. That is when Amy jumped out of her own car, dressed head to toe in black and with a gun in her hand. And after raising the pistol merely a few meters away from Sikander, she squeezed the trigger. However, this is where their plan immediately fell apart, because after pulling that trigger, well, nothing happened. Yet again, the gun had jammed, and by now, Sikander was sharp enough to realize what was going on, and had actually taken this moment to jump back into his car. For an eternal split second, both of them seemed to be frozen in shock, with Sikander behind the driver's wheel, and Amy just stood there like an absolute pillock. The truth is that Amy's problem was actually quite simple to fix. However, she didn't know what to do. Instead, she seemed to just keep trying to pull the trigger, expecting different results. And Sikander, well, he was already on plan B. By now, he had turned the key and slammed the car into reverse. Meanwhile, Amy was just fumbling with her pistol, and thankfully, it was too late for her to do anything about it, because by now, Sikander was halfway across the street. In the chaos, he slammed into the door of Amy's Mercedes, bending it in the process. And not only was this good for tying her vehicle to the crime scene, but it also made it quite hard for her to get away, and Sikander then sped away into the darkness, narrowly escaping his assassination. In the seconds after his disappearance, Amy just stood there with her pistol in her hand, undoubtedly in a mix of both rage, alarm, and absolute confusion. Her perfect plan had seemed to fail spectacularly, and now she was past the point of return. But Agent Becky Booth was not about to quit yet, and so she jumped back into her car and abandoned it down a side road nearby, before then fleeing on foot. She then called a taxi before giving away her phone number, location, and even where she was going, that being back to the rotunda. And you can actually tell only moments later that she realized this was a bad idea, before then changing her destination to Moore Street.
Hi, look, should I get a taxi? Where from? I'm on Austin Close.
Okay, and where are you going?
To the Rotunda.
To where, sorry?
The Rotunda, to the Birmingham, to Moore Street.
Could I get your name?
Becky?
Back at the hotel, Amy then swapped her niqab for a pair of loud patterned trousers and some steel toe-capped work shoes. If police were on the lookout for a veiled woman, well, now she looked nothing like their suspect. After that, she then pulled out her burner phone and sent a message to Mahumad, simply saying, "Where are you hiding?" When he didn't respond, she then sent him a follow-up by saying, "Stop playing hide and seek. You're lucky the gun jammed." Unsurprisingly, he didn't reply to that one either. A couple of hours later, and at 12:18 a.m, she then called for another taxi. And while still using her American accent, she then stupidly gave the dispatcher Mahumad's and Sikander's address. Back at the property, Amy then tried to finish what she had started. However, yet again, it was amateur hour. She fired a handful of shots through the front windows of the property, before then running away. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and that's because by now the house was entirely empty. Now, having vented her fury, Amy disposed of the burner phone, hoping it would never be found, and in her mind, that tied up all loose ends. But in reality, she had already signed her fate away. By the morning, that quiet street was now crawling with officers. Crime scene tape was surrounding the property, and the family had to be escorted to a secure location. The attempted assassination of Muhammad left both him and his entire family shaken, and with no other enemies outside of Nazir and Aslam, it was kind of obvious who had targeted them, and so, quite naturally, they were immediately considered to be persons of interest. However, linking them to the crime scene with actual evidence was going to take a while, and so officers began the painstaking process. Shortly after sunrise, police officers would discover the abandoned Mercedes only a short distance away from the property, with its driver's door still dented from where Sikander had escaped. Interestingly enough, but inside that vehicle, forensic teams found a black glove which held DNA, and although the DNA did not match any criminal databases, they could run it against any future suspects. In addition to this, surveillance cameras in the area were analysed, and like many urban areas, Yardley had a huge system of security cameras on homes and street corners. And of course, it wouldn't take long until officers found this surveillance footage. And another surveillance camera caught the same Mercedes tailing a red Volvo in that neighbourhood only the day prior. All the police had to do was run the license plate through their database, and that is when they realised that it was registered to Muhammad Aslam of Derbyshire. Soon enough, Aslam and Nazir found officers knocking on their front door. They were then questioned, and their property was thoroughly searched. No surprise, they claimed that they were innocent, had no idea what was going on, and also that they were at home all night. Meanwhile, and unknown to officers, Amy was actually already weaseling her own way out of the country, and on September the 9th, which was only a day after the shooting, she fled the UK, catching a flight from Manchester to Chicago. Within a day, she was back on US soil, and she probably thought that she'd gotten away with it too. Shortly after, and true to their pact that they had promised each other, Mohammed Nazir then left the UK and flew to America to join Amy, once again tying both of them together in the crime. However, if you think the story ends here, then you might want to think again, because the truth is, the drama was only getting started. Although British police had surveillance footage of Amy in Birmingham, they actually had no idea who she was. Saying that, what they did notice was that Nazir was constantly contacting an American phone number. And when they decided to pull data from his phone, that is when they struck gold, because what they uncovered was a video of him and Amy test firing a gun only days before the attack. And that was only the beginning, because back in the US, both Amy and Nazir had decided to double down on their stupid ideas. You see, with Nazir being so violent, it is no surprise to learn that he had many enemies back in the UK. The problem is, his arch-nemesis was now suspecting him of trying to assassinate him. And so, what better way than to try to frame another one of his rivals? So, it was in that moment that he and Amy decided that they would actually mail illegal ammunition to one of his rivals' homes. He would even contact the police anonymously to tip them off. And for a brief while, it actually worked. However, that small victory would not last very long, because soon enough investigators realized that this poor man had no motive whatsoever. It was because of that they decided to dig a little deeper. And what they found was actually game over for Amy and Nazir. When detectives examined the seized ammunition, they discovered something very interesting. The DNA found on the ammo actually matched the same DNA on the glove left inside the abandoned Mercedes. Suddenly, the two plots seemed to be linked to the very same person. After tracing the package back across the Atlantic, they realized it had a time, a date, and even the post office it was sent from. And so, after contacting the American authorities in Palatine, Illinois, they went to check the cameras. And that is when they realized that they had surveillance footage of Tweedledee and Tweedledum in the act. Despite trying to disguise themselves, they made, yet again, another crucial mistake. They may have used a fake name, but the payment records told a different story. And so, just like that, the name behind all of this finally came into focus. Authorities now knew that Becky Booth was in fact Amy Betrow. By the year 2020, Amy was now firmly on police radars, and the British Crown Prosecution Service was building a case against her. It seems that somehow she knew about it too, and sensing the heat, she decided to take drastic action and flee the United States. Alone, by the way. Becky Booth's next mission was to try and find a hideout that was far away and in a place where the British authorities could not easily find her. So, in our recent case of Thomas Campbell, we talked about how his killer made the smart decision to flee to Suriname, which then meant that he managed to stay well hidden for quite a long time. Well, Amy's choice was not so intelligent, unsurprisingly. However, it would also work in her favour for quite the long period. Back in the UK, things were not looking good for Nazir or Aslam. Both of them were arrested on several charges, and in late 2024, their trials began at Birmingham Crown Court. They were under the hammer for the conspiracy to murder Aslat Muhammad, the attempted murder of Sikandar Ali, and several other firearms offences. The evidence against them was absolutely overwhelming. Nazir, who by then was 31 years old, and Aslam, who was 58, both denied any wrongdoing. But quite obviously, the jury would see right through them, and as a result, they were both found to be guilty. Both of them were handed very hefty sentences. Mohammed Nazir was convicted of conspiracy to murder, possession of a firearm with intent to cause fear of violence, perverting the course of justice, and illegally importing firearms. And so, for all of that, he received 32 years behind bars. Meanwhile, his father, Mohammed Aslam, was found guilty of conspiracy to murder, and so was also sentenced to 10 years in prison. The crazy part is that by the time Aslam and Nazir had actually been convicted, Amy had been on the run for more than 4 years. And despite so much time passing, she was still actually successfully evading the police. Maybe she believed that she truly had escaped her consequences forever. But the truth is that investigators never actually stopped looking for her, and in 2024, they issued an international warrant for her arrest. Even the FBI and Interpol were involved, but the insane twist to all of this is that the surprising break would not come from an agent or a detective, but actually from a journalist. You know, I think it's every true crime YouTuber's dream to help solve a case, and this journalist actually managed to do that. So, hats off to you, whoever you are. So, how precisely was Amy discovered? Well, as it turns out, she was actually posting dozens of photos of herself on Instagram. And although she was trying to be discreet with her location, the journalist actually found that out based off the position of the sun in her photos, which I have to say is absolutely genius. After discovering her location, the Armenian authorities were notified in July of 2024, and as seen in this surveillance footage, they then suddenly showed up at her property before putting her in handcuffs. After 5 years on the run, Amy Betro, who by now was known as the so-called hitwoman in a hijab, was finally in custody, and by January of 2025, she was escorted back to the UK to finally face trial. That trial would begin only a few months later, and the prosecution wasted no time on her. The evidence here was substantial. There was the surveillance footage, the forensics, the abandoned Mercedes, and the black glove with Amy's DNA found all over it. That same DNA matched the ammunition which was sent from the US, and her phone records sealed the deal. They also had her flight tickets, taxi records, and witness testimonies. Even the car salesman remembered her vividly, probably because she introduced herself as Becky Booth, while also wearing a hoodie and flip-flops. Despite the mountain of evidence, Amy spun an alternative reality. While taking the stand, she claimed that she was innocent and was simply in Birmingham to celebrate her birthday. Which, by the way, is the biggest lie of the century, because nobody goes to Birmingham to do that. According to her, the real assassin must have been another short, overweight American woman in the exact same trainers, who, by pure chance, was wandering around the same neighborhood at the same time. Unsurprisingly, the jury didn't buy it, and after 2 weeks of testimony and 21 hours of deliberation, the verdict was clear. Amy Betro was found guilty on all counts of conspiracy to murder, possession of a firearm with intent, and illegal importation of ammunition. She sat stone-faced throughout, offering no emotion whatsoever. From Wisconsin to Birmingham, back to Wisconsin, and then to Armenia, Amy tried everything to escape her fate. However, it seems that, in the end, even the best of agents are compromised. One fascinating side note here is just how much modern technology helped crack this case wide open. I think I could probably ramble about this case for
That's wild. Ready? 2. Three. Please remember to pray. Do no harm. Take no crap. And I'll catch you in the next one. Namaste. With love. Blessings. Thanks for being here.